And I believe that we are live. Yes, we are. Hello, my name is Ben Campbell. I am a social coach specializing in things like making friends, getting dates, that sort of thing. Can also help a little bit with productivity. This show is called Off the Cuff. It's a live show where I come on and just ramble as to various topics and questions. I am joined by my friend and former what's the word that I'm looking for? Friend and former client. Yeah, there we go. Friend and former client Anton Toy. Anton, say hello.
Hello, guys.
And so the format of this show is that people go into the Discord, which is discord.gg/self-improvement, and they can ask questions and I will answer them live on the stream. We got 3 or 4 questions in there, but if you have anything you want to start with, Anton?
Yeah, actually, I have 2 myself.
All right, let's start with those.
But first of all, I want to say, from the last episode we did, I implemented some of the tips on productivity, like no social media before 4 p.m. And it's such a game changer for me. So thank you for the advice on that one.
You sound like I've paid you to say that.
My first question, not at all. The first
yes,
question,
I am a person who is affiliated with Ben, and I have implemented his advice, and I am totally not like paid to say this, but his advice is wonderful, and it's completely changed my life. I recommend that everybody works. No, I'm fucking with you. Thank you.
No,
I don't honestly remember what we talked about. I'm drunk for most of these, so. All right. Sorry.
It was about like boosting your productivity. We were talking about, and one of the tips you gave me was no social media or like, gaming or like
keeping everything until 5 p.m.
4 p.m.
Yeah, 4 p.m., 5
yes,
p.m.
And I used to do this like back when I was you in Sofia, and then I forgot to do it, and now I re-implemented it again, and it's such a game changer for me.
It's massive. Yeah, waking up at the same time, every day, and just not looking at your phone, you'll be amazed at how much more you get done. Because I'm like, why am I so lazy? Why am I unproductive? Is it the ADHD? Is it this? It's like, yes, it partly is. But it's also just because I wake up and then I start scrolling through Instagram and I send a couple of reels to people. And it's like, that's how I start my morning. And then for the whole day, I'm like, why can't I do things? Why do I feel bored? Why can't I just sit and work? And it's like, because I've just ramped up my dopamine first thing in the morning with some bullshit thing. And now everything by comparison just doesn't work anymore. And it's such like a deceptively simple thing. It's like, you can do Instagram. You can watch pornography. I mean, I wouldn't watch pornography, but you can do Instagram, stimulating activities. You can do Instagram. You can watch YouTube. You can watch Netflix. You can play video games. You can do any of that shit that you want. Just push it to the end of the day. So, because anything you do after those activities, unless it's as stimulating, you're not going to want to do it. So for people that are like, why can't I do work anymore? Why is the entire generation so lazy? It's like, because we're all just staring at our fucking devices all day. And it's so simple. Just push it to the end of the day and then everything else works out. Anyway, I mean, it takes a little time to make the habits regardless, but it really does help with that feeling of boredom that you feel when you want to do those things, because you're like sitting, you want to work, you want to write, you want to study, whatever it is that you need to do. It's like if you've done anything before that is more stimulating, it becomes so much harder afterwards. And then if you drop that baseline level of stimulation, so you wake up and you like just take a shower, you're not listening to music or looking at your phone or whatever, when you actually want to sit down and work, it's if you're bored, that thing then becomes stimulating and you start to enjoy it. It's like people used to enjoy working. It's not that everybody's just lazy now. It's that we've found ourselves sources that are far more stimulating. Yeah. Anyway, we talked about that last time. What was your question?
Yes. Also about the music part, I used to see this one through the fingers, like, oh, it's only music.
Yeah.
But when I was like in the gym, my workouts took like 3 hours because of like I'm looking for the good song and stuff. But now they take like 1 hour and a half because I'm just on the workout instead.
Yeah, sorry. Like we're talking over each other. That's my fault. Yeah, people want to listen to music whilst they do things, which is fine. Like you can go to the gym, you can listen to music, you can drink your caffeine, you can do whatever. But the more things that you're doing to stimulate yourself, the more that you're going to need to the next time as well. So if every time you go to the gym you're listening to heavy music and drinking and taking lots of caffeine, it's like eventually that stimulation stops being good enough and you keep needing to ramp it up. And then you end up in that situation where you're like looking for the perfect, I need to get pumped up. So, and you'll notice that as well. It's like I spend most of my day with something in my ear. I'm like listening to podcasts or I'm listening to music. And I find that if I don't take breaks from that, so I don't have a couple of days where I'm not doing it, I also get overstimulated because I'm just constantly listening to information. I'm just constantly taking in stuff. And then it's like, I start to not enjoy music because I'm listening to it all the time. And if I eat the same foods all the time, I start to not enjoy those foods. You got to find balance with these things, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so first question. This is one from my friend who was visiting me a week ago, and he asked, "How could I overcome the feeling of I am not good enough for this girl when I'm dating somebody that I like?"
Okay, so he's dating a girl and he feels like he's not good enough for her.
Yes.
Right. I mean, as with anything with self-worth, I think there's two components to it. And the major one is the internal one, and then there's the external feedback thing. And I'll address the latter first because it's simpler. If you want to feel good about yourself, you need to find reasons. You need to bring yourself things that feed back into your sense of self-worth. And a lot of this is an internal process, but you can do it outside as well. So if you're someone that wants to raise your self-worth, I would recommend doing things like making better friends and going and doing some type of volunteer, just doing anything that makes you feel like you are benefiting the people around you in some way. So if you have good friends around you, they're probably saying things to you like, oh, I like being your friend. Like it's normal for friends to compliment each other and say that you're really valuable and like do each other favors and things like that. And so that will demonstrate to you that you are valuable to other people. And obviously if you're in a relationship, your partner, I mean, different people have different ways of communicating affection, communicating love and things like that. But for most people, they want to be in a relationship where their partner is complimenting them and telling them nice things and giving them reassurance and all of this stuff. And there is a line where that can cross into like, I'm insecure and I need you to tell me this stuff constantly. But there's like a healthy balance where people are affirming each other, basically. But if you don't feel internally like you are good enough, you're gonna subconsciously reject all of that shit, and it's not gonna land even if it is happening. So it could be that he's with this girl and she's like never really expressing affection and telling that he's worth anything, and so that's why he feels bad. But what's far more, and you can tell me, but what's far more likely is that he's in this and he's got this like nice supportive partner that tells him good things, and he's sitting there not internalizing any of it because he doesn't internally believe it. And the way that you fix that is first to recognize that your worth to other people, your worth to yourself is determined by yourself. Your worth to other people is also sort of determined by yourself, in that if you decide that you are worth something, you'll start to behave more confidently and other people will like you. But if you have somebody around that's telling you that you're worth something and you're denying it, it's not up to you. Like you don't get to decide your value to this other person, they do. So if you have someone around that's telling you things, start to question, why am I not internalizing this? What's wrong with me? What's going on inside that's not allowing me to accept this? And start looking for reasons as to why that could be. And maybe you need therapy, maybe it's a case of you don't have enough going on in your life that's giving you feedback. And so this person comes to you and they say, oh, I see this value in you and I see this worth. And you're looking at your own life going, well, what have I got to show? In which case, I would recommend doing the things that I suggested before, like start doing things that bring you external measures of self-worth. And I wrote a post about this. I think I might have taken it down because I want to rewrite it. But self-worth is I see it as like a platform that's set upon different pillars, and different people have different areas. Like your self-worth is your self-worth. It's completely self-determined. And so it's set upon pillars. And these pillars can be things like your work and your sense of value to like society and the economy and things like that. Or it could be your sense of value to your partner and your relationships. Or it could be like, and these can all be healthy or unhealthy. And so, for example, a workaholic, people can be workaholics for different reasons, but one of the reasons that I've noticed, and I've spoken to certain people about this, is that their entire sense of value, their entire sense of self-worth is determined by how well they're doing at work. And so the only thing that they can do to make themselves feel good is to be doing well at work. And so they're just constantly pushing to be doing well at work. And at the neglect of like their family and their relationships. Or some people become sex addicts because the only time that they feel valuable, and this also ties in with like people's need for affection and stuff. But we'll talk about that another time. If the only time that you feel valuable is when you're having sex with people, you can become a sex addict because it's the thing that you constantly seek out. And so the way that I view self-worth is I think you need to have lots of different things so that if one of those pillars collapses as well, your entire sense of self-worth doesn't fall down with it. So if your entire sense of self-worth is based on your value at work and you lose your job, you're completely fucked. If it's entirely dependent on your relationship, you end up becoming stuck in relationships because the woman's or the man is the only thing that gives you that sense of value. And if they leave, suddenly you're completely fucked. If it's all about like your I don't know what's one of the other ones. My mind's a little bit scatterbrained and all over the place today. How well you drive, and or like your body. Let's say your entire sense of self-worth is like how muscular you are. You'll probably end up being a person that gets body dysmorphia and starts injecting them with things. Or if you're a woman, you might end up like becoming fucking anorexic because you're like, I need to be skinnier all the time because it's the only thing that you have that's feeding into your sense of value. So to build up your self-worth, find like 3 or 4 areas of your life that you can do. Oh, and another one is like your value to your community. So you can do things like volunteer work or like community and sense of friendships. You can go and make lots of good friends that are feeding back into your self-worth. But I would recommend having like 3, 4, 5 really solid areas that are all feeding back into your self-determination of your value to other people. So things that you can look at yourself and you can look at the world and you go, okay, I do this thing, other people value me for this thing, this makes me valuable. And you could say like, oh, it's not good to put all of your worth on what other people think of you. And that's true to an extent, and I always say like don't care what people think of you, but there's a different meaning to that. As inherently social creatures, we need other people to like us. It's basically the only thing that matters is your network and your people. And when I say it doesn't matter what people think about you, what I really mean by that is don't care what the general population thinks and find people that like you for who you are. It's about compatibility, and if you can do that, it'll end up feeding back into your sense of self-worth. So getting off my ramble and back onto the topic with this guy, I would say it's if it's not, it's probably not her, but if it is her, then that's a different conversation. Like maybe he needs to find a better partner that's more affirming to him. But if it's not her and it's his own insecurity and like self-worth, and he's just like, well, I'm not good enough for this person. A, clearly she thinks you are, otherwise you wouldn't be with her. And B, start interrogating internally, why do I not feel good about myself? And maybe what happened in my childhood or what thoughts do I have? Like start changing the way that you think about yourself. What things are going on inside my own mind that are telling me that I'm not good enough and not allowing me to receive love from this person? And what can I do about it? And if it's a self-worth thing, then go out and find ways to bring in self-worth. Does that answer the question?
It does. Totally.
My ADHD brain is fucking all over the place right now. I'm trying to like put the pieces together. Sorry, you were saying.
You touched on like a few things to create self-value and to see yourself as a valuable person. And I was thinking, could there also be a point that he is like living in a scarcity mindset because, oh, I'm with this girl now, but what if I lose her? And that he doesn't see or have like the abundant mindset to date many people like her. And if he would know that there are many girls like her, he would be like a lot more relaxed and chill, that he can always date other people if this one doesn't work out.
Yes. I think there's two parts to that, which I'll talk about. I'm just taking my pants off because it's very warm in here. And also it fits the show better off the cuff. So the abundance mentality. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people find themselves trapped in relationships because they don't feel like they can do better. And that, I would say that's most people's problem, is that they end up in bad relationships because they haven't worked on themselves to the point where they can even attract better quality people. And they can't do the work to go out and find these people, and so they don't believe it. And B, they don't believe they're worth it as a result of not having taken the action. They've never got the results, and so they end up internalizing the belief that they're not worth anything. And then this could be this guy's problem when somebody does come along, because they've never had that experience of going out and finding people. It happens like fluke, and then they start telling themselves like, I don't deserve this, and then they start like self-sabotaging, and then they're scared that if this person leaves, they won't have anybody else, and blah 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 blah. It can also go too far the other way, where people like they start dating around and then their entire sense of self-worth comes from that, first of all. But then they also have this grass is greener mentality where they start to think, well, no matter what happens, I can always get someone else. And so if this doesn't work, that's fine. Like there's a balance between that being healthy and that being unhealthy. I think in a relationship, neither person should become like too codependent with the other person. Like it's relationships should be a collaborative thing rather than a I need you to survive kind of thing, although that is nice in a romantic sense. But realistically, it can be a little bit unhealthy. But I would say the balance to that. Yeah, I mean, I can't say to this guy like, oh, break up with your girlfriend and go get a bunch of experience so you can then come back and like if it's a good relationship, it's a good relationship. If it's a bad relationship, then yeah, break up and go find other people. And yeah, what holds people back is the fear. It's like I can't get what I want, and so I'm just going to settle for something that's not making me happy. I don't know. It's a complicated question. Like self-worth is a really complicated issue because it's all internally motivated. And there are reasons that I can point out as to why it would be, but there's also stuff that I'm completely unaware of and you probably need to seek some kind of psychotherapy for. Going back to your question, remind me? Or have I covered it?
Scarcity versus abundance.
Scarcity.
Yeah, I think you covered it.
I mean, the thing that I suggest to people is when you're young, when you're in your late teens and early 20s, date around and date as many people as possible with the goal of not getting into a relationship. If it happens, it happens. And if it's a good thing, it's a good thing. If it's a bad thing, you're going to learn from your mistakes. Like, it's fine to be getting into relationships. But the more experience you get younger, the more you start to learn the things that you like and don't like and really create a realistic picture of what's actually good in relationships that isn't just based on how you feel. Because what happens with most people is they don't feel good, and then so they start seeking love from other people in order to fill that, and they end up in a codependent sort of fucked up relationship where neither person is really compatible with the other, but they get that emotional fix from each other in between their fighting and arguing, and so they bond for like a couple of years, and then they end up breaking up, and then it's like it takes longer than it should for them to break up because neither one of them wants to be alone because they're afraid that they can't do better. And it's this whole all of this could be fixed by people just overcoming their fear and going out and talking to people and making friends and getting dates and exploring when they're young, which is the whole thing that I teach. So yeah, it could be caused by a scarcity mindset, and the mentality is I can always find, like I have the mentality that like I'm not scared of dying alone because I know that I can find people. My thing at the moment is and this, it could be seen as a problem. My standards have raised to the point where it's incredibly difficult to find people that I see as valuable enough to have a relationship with. And part of that is the grass is greener, and this is where the unhealthy mindset can come in, where it's like, no matter what you have, you might always be looking for something else because the grass is always greener on the other side. Whereas if you have never had that and you get into relationships young, it can be easier to bond with people. And there's this thing, and I've talked about this before, but it's like you watch Red Pill podcasts and stuff, and they say that, the more people a woman sleeps with, the harder she finds it to pair bond and blah, 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 blah. And that is true. And it's not just women, it's true for men as well. Like, the more people you sleep with, the harder it is for you to settle into a serious monogamous relationship. And that can be a bad thing. And I'm still figuring out whether that is actually that it fucks up something in your brain. I don't think that that's the case. I think what's actually happening is you're getting experienced. Like, one of two things happens, and it's either healthy or unhealthy. Either you're fucking yourself up and you're like filling your sense of self-worth through that means, and you're doing it because you're scared of commitment, and so you just keep going on trying to fill that hole with more and more and more, which is part of the human condition. Like, that happens with money, with food, with sex, with everything, and that can go down. As with anything, too much of it creates an unhealthy dynamic. On the healthy side of it, I think what happens is you get experience to the point where it raises your standard for what you want, and you also become a more competent person within relationships yourself. And you begin to realize, and this is a bit of a black pill for some people perhaps, but like, most people are just not. It's really, like, on both sides. I speak to women about this all the time, and I speak to men about this all the time. The women are saying there's no good women out there, and the women are saying there's no good men out there, and the men are saying there's no good women out there. And it's not untrue. It's really hard to find sociable people, and people that are capable of holding a good relationship together, and people that know what they want, and people that aren't just like doing everything based on their emotion. Like, people that have their shit together are really hard to find now. And I think one of the reasons for that is like social media and our phones games and all this like fucking Tinder and all this stuff that has reduced dating to like a matchmaking game, because people aren't trying anymore, and people aren't doing the work as much as they used to, I don't think, in the absence of those things. Like people, it's undeniable that people are far less social than they used to be, and I think this is heavily affecting the dating, I hate to use this word, but economy in like a negative way. I can't even remember what we were talking about in the beginning, but
yeah, but you cleared the point. His next question, I think, is quite similar to what we have already answered.
Yeah, sorry, just before you continue, okay. I would say that the solution to this, because I don't want it to be like all doom and gloom, like the world's a terrible fucking place and all the people dating are awful. And this is mostly a Western problem as well. You go the farther east you go, the less this is a thing. And also in Latin countries, things are still a little bit like the men still approach and the women are still very fit. There's like a good balance that goes on. And I would say the fix to this is to just start spreading the mentality that, because people are starting to become aware that social media is corrupting our minds in a negative way, and people are becoming aware that pornography is affecting their relationships, and people are becoming aware of these things, which is good. But I don't think we've quite latched on to the how much this is fucking us up socially and in a dating sense. And some people are, but what's happening is those people are becoming disenfranchised and like really negative about it, and they're forming like the incel culture and the black pill culture, and it's mostly men because it's their responsibility, and men have a scarcity around sex, whereas women have a scarcity around good relationships. But it's easier for women to latch onto a guy than it is for a guy to find. It's just like there's an imbalance going on. And what's happening is people are instead of looking at that and going, how can we fix it? People are looking at that and going, oh, well, the world is broken and I'm doomed. And they just like fucking internalize, and then they come up with radical ideas like enforced monogamy and marriage. And like, it's very scary what's going on in some of the dark places on the internet. And I really hope it doesn't result in some like fucking Handmaid's Tale style revolution. That would be very bad. But I think the solution to it is for us as men, because it's the male responsibility to take care of these things. It's the masculine responsibility to initiate in relationships, to realize like, okay, everything's becoming fucked up, so we need to get off these fucking apps and work on ourselves and start going out and talking to women and like reinitiating that part of the relationship, and rather than blaming women for all of this, because the women are like, the men are going, oh, all women are whores and this, and it's like, if you just sit on your fucking phone and give them like 15 million Instagram likes for a picture of their ass, and they get like 1,000 matches on Tinder, and none of the guys are quality at all because none of them are working on themselves, and then you complain that they're whores. It's like it's such a fucked up mentality. It's like we're not going to do the work, and maybe like guys are going to get angry at me for saying this. It's like, we're not going to do the work, and we're going to simp over you, and then we're going to complain into what we've turned you into. Basically, it's like we're going to treat you like whores and commodities, and then call you whores and commodities and say that's a bad thing. It's like, you did this, you know. It's like if someone came to me and like, oh, I'm going to give you $1 million a week to show your butthole on camera. You think I'm not doing that? Of course I'm doing that, you know? And then people come to me and they're like, Ben's such a whore. It's like, you're paying me. Like, you gave me this job. Anyway, so I think the solution is for us to get off the apps and stop glorifying sexuality and all of these things, and ground ourselves a little bit more. And this is also why you're seeing the right-wing backlash, where it's like, oh, we need to go super hardcore conservative and Christian in this. It's like, no, I think you can fuck around. I think you can have fun with these things. And I think there's room for everybody. I just think we need to be working on ourselves more, and actually, rather than sitting at home on our apps in our underwear swiping through Tinder, going out and meeting people. And then once you do that, as you know, as I know, as everybody who has actually done this realizes, it does work, and it takes care of your entire dating life, and then you're not in scarcity anymore. And then once you're getting dates, you can start to work on other things like your business and your health and all of that. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs starts to come together, and you build the pyramid, and everything becomes a lot better, and everybody's relationships improve. It's like if there weren't 1,000 guys on every girl's fucking Tinder thing that were super low quality, it's like she wouldn't also be treating. It's like this makes me really angry. I'm going on a rant about this, but it's like, because I speak to women about this as well, and the women that are on Tinder, it's like, yeah, like they hate Tinder as well, because it's like, well, all of the guys on here, it's like they all start out with some like sexual comment and it's this and it's a difference in mentality. Like the women are not there necessarily looking for sex, even though that's kind of what Tinder's about. And so from their experience, it's like they go on and then they get this like flood of weird fucking guys messaging them with nothing to offer, only looking at them as like sexual creatures. And then they start to treat men like they're disposable as a result. And then on the other side, it's like men have a scarcity, and so they start to either treat women like they're evil or to start to place them on a pedestal, and it just creates this imbalance. But we are doing it. We are creating this imbalance. So we can fix this. We can fix this by getting over our fears, by working on ourselves, and by going out and changing things for the better, by taking the lead and actually making a better world, and stop fucking simping and get off of fucking Instagram and Tinder and just meet people in real life and form networks and communities and brotherhoods and like create collaboration rather than anyway. I'm done. There's my better solution.
Yeah, and when I'm on dates, and I mostly get my dates now from just approaching people in public or in a warm environment. Yeah. And then I discuss on the first date, like, hey, did you enjoy that I just came up to you like this? And everybody says it's way more cool than than meeting on a dating app, because it's like a romantic way, and it's cool because you can analyze a person a little bit in the first 2 minutes that you talk with her.
Yeah.
It's so much
people don't realize,
swiping.
Like women, not everybody, obviously, there are exceptions to this rule, but on the whole, women want to be approached, but they don't want to be approached. But like there was a section in the pickup video that I did where I have 2 posts called "Why You Should Make Approaches" and "How to Make a Good Approach," and these are free. If you go into the Discord, there's a link in the description. If you go in there, these are free posts. You can read them. And I sent these to a bunch of women. Like I even sent it to my mother. And I put near the end of this video, there's like a 30-second to a minute segment of all the feedback. And if you're a member in the server, there's like a member's perks. You can listen to the full voice messages, like 15 minutes of messages from women in there, and they're all going, "Yeah, I really agree with this. I think it's a great thing to do. I want to be approached. I agree with how you could." Like the difference is, if you approach people in a bad way, it puts people off. And this is what most people do. They're either creepy assholes or they're pickup guys, or they're slightly crazy and they don't understand social implications. And so they're making women uncomfortable. And then as a result, we've created this thing where it's like, well, women don't like being approached. Not true. Everybody, pretty much everybody that is just a little bit social, if you approach them in the right way, even if they have a boyfriend, even if they're not interested in you, whatever, they're going to be really happy that you did it because it's such a massive compliment. But people do it in such like a fucked up, horrible way that it creates this environment where everyone's like, don't approach people. But it's 2 things. It's either people have had bad experiences being approached in a bad way, or people don't want to approach because they're scared, and so they come up with seemingly logical excuses as to why they shouldn't. And yet, like I still use Tinder, and I tell people not to use Tinder, which is a bit hypocritical, but I say don't use Tinder until you're getting dates in real life. If you're not getting most of your dates in real life, you can then like use Tinder as a supplementation, as like a tool, and you're not spending like hours a day fucking, like I spend 10 minutes a week on Tinder whilst I'm taking a shit, basically. And I've had some great dates from there, but all of the best people that I've met have been people that I've approached in real life, because most of the high quality people and the high quality women especially are not on Tinder. And yeah, people are on there because they're either, it's like a supplemental thing, or for the most part because they're not getting dates in real life, and so that's why they're on Tinder. And if that's you, great. Like if it eliminates my competition, it eliminates Anton. But if you want to be meeting higher quality people and actually getting good dates and not getting fucking flaked on for every person that you message, because Tinder's a shit show for that. Go out and meet people. Go and sign up for coaching. Take a free one-on-one consultation call. Go into the reviews section of the channel and see all the people that have taken the course and been like, wow, now I have this problem where I have too many people that are speaking to me and want to meet me. Like it'll completely change your life and your dating life especially. And then once you fix your dating life, you can make better friends, and then you can sort out all of the other areas of your life that you're missing because you want to fix that first, because you want the affection and the intimacy. Yeah. What was your next question?
Oh, I was just gonna touch on something you said. The best dates I had were not on Tinder, and this is so true, because like there's sometimes I'm like on a date with girls and I'm like, I'm never ever gonna swipe this girl on Tinder. It's just impossible. Like, and then like there are absolute models, and
yeah, that's another point. It's like how many of approaching people in real life, your results are going to be a lot better. Like you might swipe on 100. People are always like, well, if you approach, and I say this as well, it's like you might get 1 out of 100 people that you approach are interested. That's still probably better odds than Tinder. and then like you're face to you're already in a conversation with this person. You don't have to like, hey, how you do, or come up with some like joke in order to make them interested in you because you have 1,000 other more attractive men in their DMs. It's like if you approach someone in real life, it completely eliminates the competition. Yeah, that's another point. It's like how many of this is for the people watching at home, how many people that you swipe on Tinder that you're like, oh my god, this is one of the hottest people I've ever seen in my life. How many times do they match you? And if they match you, how many times do they respond? And if they respond, how many times do you actually end up on a date with them? Whereas if you see that person in real life, you're already in a conversation. Like, hi, how's it going? You're really attractive. Let's have it. And they're like, oh my god, thank you so much. And there you go. You're in. Like, just start having a conversation, getting to know each other, and then follow all of the other advice I give on like how to form a connection and not come across as creepy, and actually like get it from the approach onto the date, and how to like escalate and all of this stuff. I put all of this in the community. It's discord.gg/self-improvement. And in there's a bunch of like written, I've put all of this down and written it in a way that's like easy to follow. Yeah. And again, if you want coaching, take coaching. If you want to see the reviews from previous clients, if you think that I'm some like young asshole that can't possibly know what he's talking about, go into the reviews section and see the reviews from different people. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is also from my friend. And it's like when he's dating, like in his opinion, super cool people, like attractive, good personality, he has this feeling where he cannot be himself, because if he thinks if he is himself, they will not like him for him. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, that's super common. This is one of the main fears that people have, is like, well, I'm not good enough. And again, it goes back to the self-worth thing we were talking about earlier. But it's something that we talk about on nearly every stream, but it bears repeating. I think it's very important. Dating, friendships, any social thing that you're doing is entirely about compatibility. And once you view it through that lens, it takes all of the pressure away. So if you're looking at it as, I need to make people like me in order to get people to like me, then you're going to go about pretending to be someone else and changing yourself to meet other people's desires and wants. And it's a fucked up way to live. Like, it's not a good thing to do. Whereas if instead you treat all connections as, let's find out if we're compatible, it takes all of the pressure off of you. Like, this is a 2-person game. It takes 2 to tango. For 2 people to like each other, it's like, they're probably thinking, they're like, oh, I'm not good enough for this person. I'm not good enough for this person. And you're both like pretending to be other people, and you just create this like wishy-washy bullshit thing. Whereas instead you start to refine who you are as a person, and like really sit with yourself and start to become comfortable with your own thoughts and really figure out, who am I as a person? What do I want? What do I like? What do I not like? What do I want to do with my life? And then start figuring out, okay, well, what kind of friends do I want? What kind of people do I want around me? That gives you an idea of what you want and what compatibility is for you. And compatibility is the level to which 2 people fit together without causing problems. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be that you like and want the same things, but to be compatible, these things need to not be conflicting. So I have friends who have like different political opinions to me, and different like religious values and all of this stuff, but we connect on certain elements, and that's what makes our friendship good. And then I have other friends where it's like, we're 2 peas in a fucking pod and everything just clicks, and obviously those are the better friends. But it doesn't mean that you can't have people in your life that aren't 100% compatible. But getting back to my point, viewing everything through this lens, you can then go into interactions, and rather than going, what can I say to make this person like me, you're instead going, what can I say to be genuinely curious about this person and figure out what they're about, so I can figure out if we're actually compatible with one another. Do they like the same things as I do? Do they want the same things as I do? Can we fit into each other's lives in this way? And then you go from like the 3 things that make a relationship good, and this can be romantic or platonic, are chemistry, compatibility, and connection. So chemistry is the ineffable thing that's just like something clicks between you, and it's literally chemistry sometimes in like it's a pheromonal thing. Your immune system is going, this person has things that my immune system doesn't have, and so you want to be close to them for that reason. And then compatibility is all the things we've just talked about. And then connection is something that you build after the fact. And you can do this by sharing emotional experience with each other. Like the more that I know what you think and feel about things, and vice versa, the more that we're going to feel connected and bonded. And again, I talk about all of this in the community. There's 3 posts. There's one about, I don't know if I go over chemistry, but there's one about compatibility, and there's another one called knowing what you want, which helps you figure out that process. And then there's one that's all about like how to build a connection in conversation with people. So you can find all of that in there in greater detail. Does that answer the question? I forgot what you even asked. My head is all over the place today, mate.
Yeah, it did. The question was, why is it common for me to not be myself around somebody that I like?
Yeah. So people are trying to make other people like them rather than realizing that social things are about compatibility. And so the solution to that is to build up your sense of self-worth, so you don't feel like you need and also the more friends that you make, the more that you realize that you don't need other people to like when you start to make friends, you stop trying to make people like you because you have people that already do. But the more that you can refine your own personality and realize it's about compatibility, the better friends that you will make, and the more that that'll feed back into your sense of self-worth as well.
Yeah. His last question, if I still have time. He likes to rely on alcohol to approach people. And I was, of course, saying it was wrong, but he couldn't find another way to do it. Like, it's just way too scary for him. Yeah. And what would you give for tips to be able to do that?
I mean, I don't really hold the opinion that anything is necessarily wrong. Like, I mean, obviously there are things that are wrong, but for the most part, things have some good and some bad to them, and it's about finding a balance. It's like that with drugs as well. There are no bad drugs; they're just bad uses of drugs and like addictions and all of these things, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but and so with alcohol, it's like I drink, I smoke, I'm not going to finish that sentence. There's benefits to it, and there's pros and there's cons. So the pros are alcohol is a wonderful social lubricant, and it lowers your inhibitions, and it can help you get into a more socially free state where you're less caring, like you're less insecure and you're more fluid. It loosens up your tongue. It helps you to speak better. I'm not drinking right now, and I usually have a glass of whiskey before starting these streams just because it helps me to loosen up a bit and to also calm my mind so that I'm not racing all over the place and forgetting what people ask because I'm a fucking ADHD fuck. But if Tinder as well. Like, I don't think Tinder is bad, but I think it's having bad effects because of the way that it's used. Like, Tinder is just a tool. Alcohol is just a tool. These things aren't on their own inherently bad. It's the use of them that makes them bad. So if you're relying on it, then it causes problems. And I have friends that do this as well. Like, they drink to get social, and then so every time they get social, they have to drink. And until you learn how to do it without, you're always going to associate the two. It's like when I go out, most of the time that I'm with my friends and I'm being social, I have a drink. And I went through a period of like 2 or 3 years where I didn't drink, but most of the time I do now. It's not my advice to him. Like, you can't force him to not do it. If he realizes it's a problem, then start doing social freedom exercises. So, like, start practicing being social without alcohol so that you get used to it, and then you won't need alcohol anymore. And then you also won't drink. Like, some people, when they're out, they end up drinking too much because they're nervous or whatever, and to get over that fear. I've personally found, I mean, I've never been a big drinker, but I've personally found that by being a sociable person in general, when I do go out and I have a drink, rather than it being something that I rely on, it's something that accentuates my experience. It's the same with Tinder. I get most of my dates in real life, and so when I go on Tinder and I get an extra date, it's a bonus. It's something that accentuates my life rather than being a crutch. And this can be true of everything. Yeah. But that's really it. It's not bad. It's not. I mean, alcohol is bad for you, and it's up to you whether you weigh up the pros and cons of that. And you probably shouldn't have more than a couple of drinks a week because it like fucks with your cortisol levels and just makes you a more stressed out person, and then you start drinking more as a result, and then you end up in addiction. And it's like, but that can happen with anything. Like, there's I don't think alcohol is evil or anything like this, and I don't think you have to abstain from it. But if it's something that you want in your life, then yeah, I would say personally, it's bad to use it as a crutch. It's bad it is a social lubricant, but if you're using it as a social enabler, then that's where the problem lies. And to fix that, become comfortable in social situations sober before adding back in alcohol, and keep yourself in a state where you're like socializing during the day. That's another thing about like night game and the pickup guys and stuff like that. It's the original way to like how pickup started and how approaching started was it's like, oh, I'll go and approach drunk women in nightclub after I've had a couple of drinks because A, they're easier to talk to and manipulate, and B, I'm more free and less scared because I've had a couple of drinks in me. And this is also why I say, like, just anytime, any place, like it's all just about getting over fear. Pretty much everything I talk about is just getting over fear, getting over your own internal bullshit, changing your mindset, feeling better about yourself, and then meeting meeting people. It's like, so I'll be on my way to the grocery store and I'll see someone attractive. I'll go and talk to them. I'm sober. I'm wearing sweatpants. I might have not shaved in like a week and a half or whatever, and I have grease. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. And everything that you add on is like, I need to do this and I need to do that. I need to have had a drink first. It's like, it's all just ways to push, to like, relieve yourself of fear and anxiety. And so if you tackle the fear and anxiety, you no longer need these things. And then that's my job, basically.
Yeah, and it sounds so good to your inner voice, oh, I have like stains on my t-shirt, I didn't brush my teeth, like, any excuse, and you chicken out, quote unquote, but you should like, always do it.
This is a long fucking time ago, but I dated someone for like 6 months who I had met on, like, I hadn't had a haircut in like a couple of months, so it was just messy bullshit. I hadn't shaved, and I don't grow a very good beard. It's like very patchy and fucked up. Hadn't shaved. I was like tired. I was covered in spots because I'd just been eating pizza for a couple. I'd like just got back on my, okay, let's start being healthy and go to the gym again grind. So a couple of years ago. And I was coming out the gym wearing like a sweat stained t-shirt with holes in it, probably stinking, right? And like the loose fucked up sweat, like just the worst clothes imaginable, coming out sweaty, like fucked up hair, unshaven, covered in spots. And I approached this girl and she's like, hi, oh my god, this is so amazing, thank you, yes, I'd love to go out with you, and that, yeah, it doesn't matter, because she probably saw me in my gym attire and with my gym bag and didn't think, oh, this is some disgusting vagrant. It's, oh, this person's coming out in the gym, so I'm going to disconnect from how they look right now because I realize they're not at their best. And most reasonable people think like this. And even if it does go wrong, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel better for having done it anyway. Yeah, it's all just fucking excuses. We love to come up with excuses to not do the things that we want to do. I have just seen your message saying, are you sure that we're live on YouTube? Let me go and check. I think so. It says we are. View your channel.
Okay, then it's good.
Your channel videos. You are right in that I don't see it right now, though. I mean, YouTube is telling me that I'm live right now. It says, it says you're live and stream. Right enough, though, no viewers. I don't know. I guess we'll find out later. So okay, I'm gonna answer a couple of. Someone's asked in the Discord, someone submitted a question. They say, how can I max out my height growth? And I'm going to tell them the same thing that I told them in the free chat when they asked the same thing. I am not at all an expert in these things. My specialty is social matters. I can't help you with like how to grow taller. I know there are compounds and things that you can do to your bones and like all sorts of fucked up stuff. But my main piece of advice is would ask yourself, why do you want to be taller? And if the question is, oh, because I'm 16 and I think this is the time where I need to max out my height growth, I'd go get the fuck off of TikTok and stop looking at content that's telling you that you're not good enough as you are. Like, I know people that are like 5'6" that are complete fucking kings and they're massively jacked and they get loads of women, and it's like this whole thing that, oh, I'm not tall enough and I don't have perfect facial symmetry and a canthal tilt and all this bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's insecure people that get on fucking TikTok and talk to other insecure people and try to come up with reasons as to why they're not getting dates. And the reason that you're not getting dates is because you're not going and getting dates. Yeah, it's how can I max out my height growth? I mean, again, I can't say that it's a wrong thing to do, but before you go down that path, question your motivations. Why do you care about this? Are you still in a period where you are growing? Because I find that most of the people that ask these questions are not people that are fully grown. They're teenagers. They're like 13, 14, 15 going, how can I max my height growth and increase my testosterone? And it's like, it's good that you're interested in these things, but it's bad when it becomes an obsession. So I would say don't worry. And I'm pretty much bang on 6 foot. I'm like 183 centimeters for the Eurofucks out there. And I was the shortest person in my class until I was like 14, and then I went through a massive growth spurt and I became what people consider, and also every generation gets taller. It's like I'm taller than my parents, they're taller than their parents. On the whole, every generation gets taller and taller, and different communities have different value. Like if you're someone that is, say you're the unluckiest guy and you're like 5'4", right? And you do complete genetic lottery mishap and you're just like super short. Because if you're 5'6", 7', 8", I don't think it matters. If you're like 5'4", it does start to affect your results a little bit. I'm not like, you can still find people. Like you could be in a wheelchair and still find someone to love. I've talked about this before, but there's a guy on YouTube called never give up or something, and he posted his whole thing from being like an incel to having a wife, and she's a reasonably cute girl. It's like anyone can actually get the results. It's all internal. It's all mindset. But say even if you're like 5'4", just move to Southeast Asia, where everybody's 5'4", and you have no problem at all. Like if you're 5'4" in Norway, you've got problems. If you're 5'4" in Vietnam, you're doing great, man. You know, it's all relative. It's all relative. So don't worry about this shit. Just don't. How can I max my height growth? I don't theoretically take a shitload of HGH and hope that you don't fuck up your liver and your kidneys along the way. But please don't do that. It's a really bad idea. And like every story I hear of people that are unless it's just like I'm going to eat clean and work out and max out my hormones in a healthy, natural way. Pretty much every story I hear of people doing things when they're teenagers to like looks max and increase their height and like inject it always ends badly. It always ends badly. It's always a horror story. There's some guy with like horrible scarring across his chest and back because he took exogenous hormones, or some guy that tried to increase his height and by like he broke his legs and was in a wheelchair for 6 months, and that fucked up some of his opportunities, and then he took a load of HGH and now he has liver problems and he's going to die when he's 45 because he wanted to be 3 inches taller. It's like it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's all internal self-worth bullshit that you think is important. It's really not. And so my advice would be to take your mind off.
Didn't you know that was a question?
Sorry. What?
Well, I was just saying I didn't even know that people question this, how to maximize their growth.
Yeah, and again, it's mostly teenagers. And no offense to the guy that asked this question. I don't know how old you are, but I'm guessing you're between 13 and 18. And you're probably at school surrounded by people that have gone through puberty slightly earlier than you, that are taller than you, and that happened to me as well. Don't worry about it. You might end up being fucking tall. It's not important. People go through different growth spurts. I think you're even growing till you're 22, 23, like height wise. And yet anything that you can do to increase your height now is probably just going to be problematic. And if you think that your height is a problem for you, it is. And it'll cause negative results. If you don't think it's a problem, it's not going to cause negative results in your life. Like I say, I know people that are quite fucking short and they do just fine. They do fine in their business. They do fine in their relationship. Like someone said in the free chat like a week ago or something. In fact, let me find the message. Because it's like indicative of the mental rot. No offense to this person, some offense. Hold on. Everybody know, I'm going to search it. Oh my god, there's 3 of us. Oh yeah, bro, every male I know who is significantly short has a huge disadvantage. Being tall is the biggest being tall is the biggest life advantage in today's world. And we all had a conversation about this and everybody sort of piled on. But no, it's not. It's really not. The biggest advantage in today's world is probably being a billionaire. Because then you can do whatever you want. If you're short, you can just get new legs. Yeah, but no, it's all in your head. If you and the problem that plagues short people is not that they're short; it's that they believe that it's the short man. There's a reason it's called short man syndrome or Napoleon complex. Like people that are short, just the same as people that are like have something physically unattractive, they obsess over that thing, and that eats its way into their fucking mentality, projects out in the energy that they give off to other people. Other people treat them differently as a result, and then they go, oh, well, it must be because I'm short, and it creates this self-fulfilling fucking feedback loop. Whereas if they don't care, there are plenty of short, highly successful people that do great with women and business and everything, and people treat them nicely, and it's no problem at all that they're short. Why? Because they don't care. And so the energy that they project is this doesn't matter, and so to other people it doesn't matter. What you put out, other people pick up on. And this is the case in everything. The way that you feel and the way that you think about yourself, it's like, call it, like maybe it's a pheromonal thing, maybe it's an energetic spiritual thing, maybe it's some combination of both. But whatever it is, I can say this as a statement of fact. Whatever you subconsciously believe about yourself, when you're in social situations, you are projecting that onto other people. And on some level, they pick up on it and they start to treat you as a result of that. Like, I'm sure you've been around people that are just like confident and whatever, and you're like, wow, this person must be like really successful or this. And it's because they believe that. And so the way that they act and the way that they carry themselves and the fucking energy that they put off is coming onto you and making you think that about that person. And so if you can create that in your own head, people will treat you differently. And so stop worrying about being short. It's all bullshit. Yeah. You got anything you want to add to that, Monsieur Lanton?
No, even if you are short, you cannot change it. So why would you worry about it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can change it. You can change it. You can take surgery. You can take HGH. Like, there's probably some other shit you can do, especially if you're a teenager. Like, it's very tempting because, you know, for just a few small injections a week, you could grow 6 inches in height, but you have no idea what the long-term repercussions of that are. And I promise you that this is not as important as you think it is, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Like, if you become 20,
that sounds so scary.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but like there is a massive like epidemic of kids taking like hormones and shit like that, because I blame like TikTok and Instagram. They're seeing unrealistic depictions of other people. They're thinking, oh, I need to be like this guy that has it in his head that being tall is like the biggest advantage and people will treat you so differently if you're tall. Like, if you are tall and attractive, people do treat you differently. They do, and they treat you better. And this is true for men and women. The more attractive you are, the better people treat you. And that is true. But, this is a big but, the thing that holds you back most is not the way that other people treat you, it's the way that you treat yourself. And it goes back to the self-fulfilling prophecy thing that I said. And I'll relate this to dating, because this is what most guys care about when they talk about these things. Like, they don't really care about the like, oh, people treat me differently in business. What they really think is like, women are going to treat me differently because I don't look as good as other guys. If you want to set yourself apart from other guys, and I have seen, no offense to these men, really fucking, like, objectively just disgusting men do very, very well with really attractive women by implementing the advice that I give them. If you work on your like internal shit and you become like a confident person that you don't care, like, obviously put yourself together, wear nice clothes, get a nice haircut. You don't care about the roll of the dice that God gave you. You're just like, it's the roll of the dice. But you like have a stoic mentality where you're just like, it is what it is, right? And you work on all of the other areas of your life and all of the internal stuff that makes you feel valuable. And you become a good, charismatic person that treats people well and has good friendships and good relationships. And you're just like a nice person to be around and people like you and respect you, right? Your physical appearance doesn't fucking matter at that point. And then you can go out and meet people. And if you're the only guy that in like 6 months has walked up to this woman and said, hey, you're one of the most attractive people I've ever seen in your life, and I'd really love to get a coffee with you. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I just had to come over and say this because I'm the kind of guy that does that. And if I didn't, I wouldn't feel good about myself. Like, it's just a rule for me. I see an attractive girl, I have to come up and talk to her. She's like, wow, this person's principled. He's got balls. He's interested in me. He's clearly a high status person because he's confidently coming over and doing this. Yeah, I want to have coffee with you. Boom, there you go, you're on a date. Does she give a fuck about it? And this is the other thing, I've talked about this before in other places. I'm going to write a post about this, about like the black pill mentality, about guys believing that their looks are the most important thing. Men are very visual, like men are more visual than women, especially when it comes to dating. Are there women that only care about your looks? Yes, absolutely. Are there women that are going to discount you for not looking as good as they want you to? Yes, absolutely. Do most women care about this? No, not at all. There have been studies that are done that show that women will rate you as more physically attractive when they like your personality. It's a foot in the door. It's a fucking great foot in the door. Like, if you're an attractive guy, it is a massive bonus, but it can also become a problem. Like, I've met attractive men and attractive women that get by on their looks, like models and shit like that, and they're just shitty people because life treats them better because of the way that they look, and so they never have to develop anything internal. I think it's better to be an average looking person that has worked on yourself than to be an amazing looking person that hasn't. And if you're the amazing looking person that has, then great, you've won the fucking lottery. Like, you know, you can look at that and you can be jealous and you can go, well, that person has things that I don't, which you can do in any area of your life. Or you can go, I'm going to ignore this and stop comparing myself to other people and just compare myself to myself and do the work. And I guarantee you that you can get everything you want in life if you just set your fucking mind to it and you stop putting barriers in your own way. I guarantee it, because I've seen it again and again and again and again and again. Like, I've done it. Anton's done it. Previous clients have done it. I have never met anybody when it comes to obviously I'm not like a business guru or any shit like that, but specifically talking about like social and dating, I have never met anyone that has applied the things that I talk about and not got the results that they wanted. Not once. Nobody. And so I'm overconfident with this because I've seen it in thousands of people, and it always goes well if they apply it and they change their mentality. If they keep the mentality, oh, this doesn't work for me and this, then it won't work. It's all in your head. Yeah, I think that's a good place to close, unless you have anything else that you want to talk about.
I was gonna say, and even for good-looking people, like I consider myself quite good-looking and a good height.
Yeah.
And before I was 22, I had like zero dating like experience because I didn't have a good personality. That's the I had, but I wasn't.
That's a really good point. I've sorry for just cutting in, but I've met really attractive people that don't get the results at all. I think what actually differentiates. So if you're really attractive and you get results, it's like that combines into confidence. But I've met loads of really attractive people that are like virgins or they've had one girlfriend or whatever. They just because their internal shit isn't fixed. I think honestly, what makes the biggest difference, especially in men, is how early you got attention from women. So if you were an attractive guy that when you were like 13, 14, all the other girls in your class were interested in you, that as you're going through puberty, that informs your template for women in the world, and it like imprints when you're in that young impressionable state. And so this is something that happens in other cultures. Not actually, I'll talk about this another time because there's a question that somebody asked that's related to this. He's not in a hurry to get it answered, so I'll answer it on the next stream. But going back to what I was saying, so if you like if you were young and you get results, it doesn't matter how you look or whatever, that informs, oh, women like me. And so you stop worrying about these things. Whereas what's happening is people are fragmenting, people are going on social media or whatever, people are stuck, like nobody's really connecting in that way anymore. And so nobody's really getting that kind of attention. It's very rare as a young man to be getting attention from women. And so most men are growing up thinking, I'm not worth anything, right? And that is probably the most important thing for your starting out mindset. The most important thing for actually the results you get is putting in the work. And it doesn't matter if you're attractive or not. It is putting in the work that matters. Being attractive will help you, but it won't just get you results. And that's a very good point that you made. It's like I consider myself now to be a pretty attractive guy. I have been approached by women maybe 3 times in my life. Maybe. Right? And this happened to me a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was quite fresh. Someone came up while I was sitting with my mother and handed me her number. And it was I haven't been out with her, but it was a thing that happened. It was cool. But that's happened like 3, maybe 4 times in my life. And I have met a lot of people and I've traveled to a lot of countries. Like I spend a lot of time surrounded by other people. And I don't think I'm like some fucking Adonis or whatever, but I think I'm a reasonably attractive guy. And even if I were like a model or whatever, I've met model guys that don't get talked to because women are intimidated by them. And it happens to models on the other side, like women as well. Like I've dated models that are women just by treating them like human beings, because nobody does that. It's like the people in their industry treat them like a commodity, and people outside of it are too scared and intimidated by them to go and talk to them. Oh, I could never get a girl like that. So if you just walk up and you treat them like a human being and don't put them on a pedestal, they're like, wow, here's a great guy. Let me talk to him, you know? And it happens with guys as well. Like if you're really attractive, sometimes women will throw themselves at you and sometimes they won't. And a lot of times they won't. And so all the black pill guys are like, oh, this guy gets all of the results and all of this. Maybe. But even then, it's like I've met women that it's like they're on Tinder and they're going out with exclusively very attractive guys. They're not sleeping with them because they're like, well, this guy has nothing to fucking offer. He's just hot and he's arrogant and I don't fuck this guy, you know? Yeah. It's just circling back, the main closing point. The thing that determines your results is your subconscious beliefs about yourself and the way that you carry yourself in the world. That is the most important thing, and also what you expect from other people. Because what you expect is what you're going to get. Because you start to like change the way that you act and think, and that puts a message out that is going to, like, there's every kind of person in the world, so you filter based on what you think you're going to get. Like I'm a trusting, open person that believes there's a lot of great people out there and that women are fine with open, casual relationships, and that's predominantly what I experience. You know? Whereas if you're a guy that thinks like I'm too short and people don't like me and blah 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 blah, that's what you're going to experience. Yeah. What were we saying, Anton? Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just saying, if most people could just do this or like adopt this mindset that you just spoken about, the dating scene would be so different. Yeah, it'd be so much better as well. It's like you say, every girl that we approach and every girl that a client has approached, it's like you talk to them afterwards and they're going, I wish more people were doing this. The world would genuinely be a better place. Everyone would be happy, everybody would be getting laid, everybody would be in a great relationship. It would be paradise. People would just be honest to each other.
Yeah. And the thing that stops you, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's limiting fucking negative self-talk, it's bullshit. Yeah, and if you can get over that, you will change your life. And so, if you want to look into these things, discord.gg/self-improvement. If the link ever changes, there's a link down below in the description. I hope I don't get that vanity link taken away, but it might happen someday. And there's different forums. I only really post in the social and behavioral ones because that's my bread and butter. Mostly the social forum. There's also others. There's like one on fitness and one on health and all that sort. I don't post in there, but community members can. It's a place for people to collaborate. It's not just all about me. Or if you want to sign up with coaching, there's different levels. You can get one-on-one calls that are like private and personal. You can join the weekly group calls. You can take like a live course where I will fly out in person and go through a weekend boot camp. Anton did that. Anton, how was the boot camp?
Life-changing.
There you go. And everybody says the same thing. Like, if you go into the reviews channel, you can see reviews from previous people. And I will be back next week at 5 p.m. I'm thinking I'm going to start maybe like doing either half an hour of us talking and rambling that isn't on the live stream, or I'm going to put up a sign that says like warm-up period, because I've noticed in the first half hour of these, I'm often a lot less what's the word, cogent than I am towards the end. Like, I need time to warm up and get my brain firing before I become good at answering these questions, because I think I ramble a lot in the first half hour, and that might be a problem if people are coming in that are new, because then they watch the first half hour and they're like, fuck this, and they leave. I don't know, something to think about. but then no, I think we talked about this. I think that could be fixed by doing the first half hour having like a more of a question and answer, like people calling in rather than just us talking or doing the text-based questions, because then I have someone to bounce off of and it's a little bit easier and more conversational. So I'm looking forward to this ramping up and actually having like people calling in. I think that'd be good. So if you're watching this and you want to call in, go to the submissions channel in the Discord, and then you can apply to call in and we'll take you on a live call. All right, this has been a pleasure. I have been Ben. I'll be back at 5 p.m. Sophia time next week, and I'm going to kill the live stream.